The Christ Letters, with enhanced narration and text. Letter 8.2. Beliefs control your expectations. The scientific fraternity believes you live entirely within the human dimension, comprising the solar system and the galaxies of stars. Science believes the human intellect is the highest point of intelligent reference at any time, having evolved in response to changing environment and climatic conditions, and is purely the product of brain activity. According to science, your emotions are wholly real and valid, and what you think and feel is beyond all dispute. These constitute the only reality of existence. Normalcy is computed according to the average thoughts, actions, and responses to the environment. This is perceived as the human reality. Any talents which transcend the average output of average minds is reckoned as being genius, arising from unusual mental powers. The below average output is said to be due to retardation due to some physical cause, genetics, birth trauma, etc. Science believes the physical dimension is the beginning and the end of existence. Science is so set against any possibility of self-delusionary beliefs that it will accept as being real any phenomenon provided it can be computed, estimated, and proved by instruments. If you think about this carefully, you will come to realize that what science holds fast to as fact is, in reality, only belief created by drawing conclusions through the exercise of their five senses. So is it with every other facet of your existence. In your earthly dimension, facts take place second by second, but the moment they have happened, they become memory beliefs, and memories are not always accurate. Whatever feelings and thoughts you have about the past are not facts, but points of view, beliefs, and are therefore not facts, nor the reality behind them. This applies to every facet of your existence. The truth is, you live in a worldly dimension composed entirely of your beliefs, arising from your responses to what happened 100, 1,000, or 10,000 years ago. At one time, people believed the world was flat. Therefore, for them, they lived in a flat world and were afraid to sail the seas too far in one direction, because they were in danger of falling off the edge of the world. For the people a mere 400 years ago, their world was flat. Today, with knowledge, your world is accessible in every direction. People in the past and also in the present time directed their lives according to old wives' tales, the power of the ancestors, and other legends. They believed in them so implicitly, the limitations imposed by these beliefs restricted people's actions and activities. Dancing was believed to be sinful and wicked by certain Christian sects, for instance. Therefore, many people who would have derived great happiness and release from stress when dancing were wrongfully denied this pleasure. Religion comes under the same heading. Beliefs are the very substance of religion. They are founded on age-old happenings which are nothing but belief. The beliefs may have been relevant to the general mindset of those times, but they have long since become irrelevant in a constantly changing world. Yet they are strictly adhered to and become the focus of worship, festivities, celebrations, mourning, and, more destructively, they become the reason for men killing one another and causing horrific misery to women and children. Certain religions claim that God is everywhere and in all things, but also affirm dogmatically that no one knows the mind of God or the reasons why people kill one another. It may be in God's plan, they say. With mindsets composed of a conglomeration of illogical beliefs, where can mankind at this present time find any certainty of beauty, joy, health, well-being, love? Religious ideas present a God whose will can bring life and healing or death and destruction. In such beliefs there is no certainty of anything other than uncertainty. With such a belief, any sickness or abnormality can be excused as being God's will. It is your beliefs which control all your expectations of what life may hand out in the future. Healthy agnosticism, the kind of mindset which accepts it does not know the nature of God or whether there is any God at all, but is perfectly open to the conviction imparted by enlightenment, is preferable to fanatical beliefs in half-truth or non-truth. How blind is the human race generally? People are like moles living within their tunnels, convinced they are capable of sizing up the entirety of their existence by using their senses of hearing, smell, very limited vision, and touch. Thus may you descend the scale of life forms and witness thousands of species living lives entirely defined and limited by their senses. What they can perceive as real constitutes their personal reality, their particular world. Every strata of existence experienced by various species of living things is distinct from every other within the earthly dimension. This includes the human mind, which is literally possessed by religious doctrines and dogmas and imprisoned in scientific theories and mathematic formulas. Religious doctrines have been conceived by human reasoning in an effort to explain the teachings of spiritual masters, whose minds have moved beyond the human sphere of intellect into the heavenly spheres of inspired perception of universal reality. Scientific concepts are also the product of the human senses, rationalizing and giving names to phenomena viewed by human sight during experimentation. When, therefore, the human intellect is able to set aside such limited beliefs and ascend into contact with the reality beyond the highest human reasoning, logic, and rationalizations, which are termed knowledge, such a mind enters the higher spheres of life consciousness. It is imbued with universal truth, which is literally beyond the scope of the normal human mind to perceive or accept or understand. The human mind cannot understand any experience beyond that of the electromagnetic parameters of earthly existence and the functions of the brain until divine consciousness, enlightenment, enters the entire human system of mind, emotions, and subconsciousness. Then the underlying unity and harmony is revealed. When altogether new spiritual perceptions are presented to a religiously indoctrinated mind, these are perceived as being from Satan, or sheer lunacy or imagination. This is natural, since when the emotions are severely aroused and challenged, as happens when deep beliefs are contradicted, the magnetic emotional bonding rejection impulses of the ego drive immediately come into action. Any thesis or proposal which causes the conditioned mind acute mental discomfort, dismay, or puzzlement will be rejected instantly, and a whole barrage of proofs will be summoned from the beliefs in the conditioned mind to back up such rejection. But the proofs are merely beliefs. This is an entirely natural mental emotional process within the purely human dimension. Therefore, if this my truth is offered to those whose mindsets are firmly established and conditioned by fear, or strengthened by the human will to adhere to such programmed beliefs, it is only natural that the truth will arouse unruly emotions and be quite violently, possibly virulently, rejected. The foregoing is a description of normal mental emotional activity within the human dimension. It should not be criticized, since a conditioned mind is made to feel completely insecure and adrift, or all at sea, when confronted with an entirely new concept. These human idioms describe exactly what happens when an indoctrinated mind is challenged by an entirely new perception of what was previously held to be so dear, so safe, so right. When first reading these letters, you can determine for yourselves where you stand mentally and emotionally. Are you blocked from spiritual progress by your stubborn adherence to present beliefs? Are you able, after due thought, to realize that all you are so sturdily upholding is only belief, irrational belief? It is absolutely vital to your spiritual development that you should, at long last, fully understand the principles of your human mind and emotional functioning. You think you do, but you do not understand it at all. You can only understand it by coming out of it entirely, transcending it, moving into higher dimensions of perception and experience, entering into truth itself. Only then do you begin to perceive that you and every other person in the world have lived and directed your lives almost entirely by human beliefs, not truth. There are many people who believe wholeheartedly that if they pray for a certain object or experience, or the bestowal of the right guidance in a certain situation, they will truly receive the right object, experience, or guidance which will enhance their well-being. They believe that when, if, their prayer is answered, they will wholeheartedly rejoice and immediately follow the lead, irrespective of present conditions, because, coming from the divine, it can only be the right answer, conducive to happiness. However, when faced with the arrival of the longed-for object or experience or guidance, the recipient of divine grace sometimes becomes so disturbed and disoriented, unable to accept that there has been an intrusion of divine consciousness exactly as asked for, that he or she does not know how to deal with it. If minds are so disturbed when what they have asked for is actually given them in an unexpected way, where is the true faith and belief, which they were so certain they wholly possessed in abundance? Do you not also see that belief, not truth, has orchestrated the whole symphonic movement, with the exception, of course, of the divine consciousness intervention, the answer to the prayer? This intervention is the only reality in the whole procedure. The rest is belief and hope. Mental gymnastics using past experiences by which to measure the present. Your only truth is divine consciousness, which leads only to growth and perfection, if you fully trust it to do so. Pause here and read and reread the foregoing paragraphs because what goes on in your consciousness is the fabric of your experiences and lives. So question yourselves, do you really perceive, realize, understand the reality as being the source of all knowledge and creativity? Or do you merely pay lip service and superficial mental acknowledgement to divine consciousness? Do you fully and completely live minute by minute in the realization that universal consciousness is the only reality and highest intelligence operational within creation? Do you consistently depend on its supremely effective guidance? Or do you think that you would rather live by your own finite will and sometimes muddled emotional impulses? And if you are given direct guidance to follow a certain lead, but stop to think whether the guidance is leading you where you think you want to go, are you fully surrendered to the highest intelligent authority, divine consciousness? Is this not an indication your ego is still in control? Even these letters, when circulated as intended, will come to be beliefs, not the pure spiritual perception of what is, out of which these words have come. Only by taking these words into meditation, after asking for spiritual illumination, will the spiritual reality behind the words eventually come like a shaft of light into the mind. When this happens, you will know that you know.